This is the kind of story I never imagined I'd share. But silence has eaten me alive for too long. What happens when the lines between right and wrong blur within your own home? When the person you raised as a child suddenly looks at you like a woman, not a mother. My son crossed a line I never thought possible. And for one terrifying moment, I almost let him. I was scared, scared of what I felt, scared of what I didn't stop soon enough. I never told my husband, but I see it in his eyes now. He knows something changed. If you're going to judge me, wait until the end, because I'm still judging myself. Every single day. This is the story of the night that changed everything. I always thought I was a good mother. Not perfect, no one is. But I gave my son everything I could. My time, my love, my patience. His name is Evan, and to me, he was always my baby boy, even when he grew tall, broad-shouldered, and quiet. After he turned 18, something in our dynamic shifted. He'd watch me a little too long. His hugs lasted a little too much. At first, I thought I was imagining it, that I was just being paranoid. But then came that summer night. My husband was out of town on a work trip. Evan and I were alone in the house. It had been a hot day, and the air conditioning was barely working. I wore a silk robe over my nightgown, thinking nothing of it. It was just me and my son. I was in the kitchen, pouring myself a glass of wine, when he walked in shirtless, sweaty from his evening run. He stood there, leaning against the counter, his eyes roaming in a way that made my stomach twist. "Mom," he said, voice low, "you look really beautiful tonight." I laughed it off, told him to stop being silly, but he didn't laugh. He stepped closer. I felt my heart pounding, not because I was afraid, but because a part of me was reacting in a way I didn't understand. His hand brushed against mine as I handed him a glass of water, and I felt it. That electric jolt, the one no mother should ever feel with her child. I stepped back, told him it was late, that he should go to bed. But that night, as I stood brushing my hair in the mirror, he came to my room. Didn't knock, just walked in like he used to when he was 5 and had a nightmare. But he wasn't 5 anymore. He was a man looking at me with something raw in his eyes. "Can I talk to you?" he asked. I nodded, too shocked to say no. He sat on the edge of my bed and told me things I wasn't ready to hear. That he'd always felt close to me, that he didn't know why, but he was drawn to me in a way that confused him, that he couldn't stop thinking about me, in ways he shouldn't. And then, he leaned in. Too close. I didn't move. I should have, but I didn't. His lips almost touched mine when I finally came to my senses. I jumped up, yelled at him to leave the room. He did. Silently, without protest. But the damage had been done. I spent the rest of the night sitting on the floor of my bathroom, shaking. Not just from what he did, but from what I felt. Because in that awful moment, I was tempted. I didn't tell my husband when he came home. How could I? How do you say to your partner of 20 years, "Our son looked at me like a lover, and I let him get too close"? After that night, Evan barely spoke to me. He was cold, distant. A part of me was relieved. Another part felt broken. Months passed. My marriage grew quieter. My husband kept asking me what had changed, and I always said, nothing. But he knew, and I knew the truth that I never crossed the line. But I walked dangerously close to it, and I can never undo that night. Sometimes, late at night, I stare at the ceiling and ask myself the same question. Why didn't I stop him sooner? And then the deeper, darker one follows. Why didn't I want to? I live with that shame, that guilt, and I'd give anything to take it back. A mother, a son, a line that should never, ever be crossed. But it happened. Slowly, quietly, in the soft shadows of our home. My son wasn't a boy anymore, and one night I saw it. Not as a mother, but as a woman. I never planned it. I never wanted it. But I didn't stop it. Not soon enough. And now, I lie awake, wondering if I'll ever forgive myself. This is the story of how I lost something much more than just control. It started with silence. My name is Allison, and I've been a stay-at-home mom for most of my adult life. I raised 3 children, and for the last few years, it was just me, my husband Greg, and our youngest, Noah. Noah had always been quiet, a thinker, sensitive. He wasn't like the other boys. He read poetry in high school, cooked with me in the kitchen, listened when his father and I would argue, really listened. He never interrupted, just stared with those deep eyes that always seemed older than his age. Then, he turned 19. That summer, something shifted. I started noticing things I didn't want to notice. The way he'd glance at me when I got out of the shower, quickly, but not accidentally. The way his hugs lingered just a little longer than they should have. How he'd casually comment on my dresses. "You look stunning in that." Like it wasn't strange. I thought it was harmless. I thought I was imagining it. Maybe I wanted to imagine it. Because if it was real, that meant I had let it happen. Greg was never home anymore. He traveled for work constantly, and when he was home, he buried himself in football games and phone calls. We hadn't touched each other in months. I felt invisible. But Noah, he noticed everything. When I changed my hair. When I wore perfume. When I sighed too long at the kitchen sink. And then came that night. It was raining. Loud, heavy, late summer rain. The house was dimly lit, warm. Greg was gone on a 3-day business trip. I had just taken a bath, candles, soft music, wine, and wrapped myself in my favorite robe. Thin silk. I wasn't thinking. I didn't lock the door. I was brushing my hair when I saw him in the mirror, Noah, standing in the doorway. I gasped and clutched my robe. "Noah, what are you doing?" He didn't answer. He just stepped into the room, slowly, eyes locked on mine. Not in a predatory way, not even aggressive, but intentional. "Sorry," he said softly. "I heard music. I wanted to talk." I told him to wait outside, that I'd come out in a moment. But he didn't move. "You always say you'll come, but you don't. You disappear." There was hurt in his voice. Real hurt. I sighed. "This isn't the time." He stepped closer. "You look beautiful tonight, Mom." That word, Mom, sounded so wrong in that moment. It didn't match his tone, or his stare, or his body, or the heat I felt rising inside me. I should have screamed, slapped him, pushed him out of the room, but I didn't. Instead, I froze. "Noah," I whispered. And then he did it. He reached out and touched my face. Just the edge of my cheek, like I was made of glass. My breath caught. "I think about you all the time," he said. "I don't know what's wrong with me. I want to be near you." I backed away, but not fast enough. He was there, his hand on my waist now, gently pulling me in. Our foreheads touched. My heart raced so loud I could hear it in my ears. For a fraction of a second, I didn't feel like a mother. I didn't feel like his mother. I felt like a woman starved for attention, craving touch, craving being seen. And then his lips grazed mine. I didn't kiss him, but I didn't stop him in time either. That's when I snapped out of it. I shoved him away, my voice trembling. "This can't happen. Ever." His eyes, once filled with desire, now brimmed with guilt. He looked like a child again, lost, ashamed. He apologized and walked out, quietly, no yelling, no fight, just shame. I locked the door. I sat on the floor. And I cried. For hours. For what almost happened. For what did happen. For what I felt in that moment. Because the truth is, it wasn't just his fault. I didn't want it. But a part of me didn't not want it. And that's the part I can't forgive. The next morning, I told him we'd never speak of it again. That it was over. That it never happened. But silence carries weight. And ours was crushing. He moved out that fall. Started college in another state. He barely calls. When he does, he keeps the conversations short. Distant. Greg never found out. He still doesn't know. But I think he senses the crack in me. The way I flinch when someone touches me. The way I don't look in the mirror anymore. Because what I see there isn't a mother. It's a woman who let something unthinkable almost happen. And no matter how many years pass, I'll never forget the sound of the rain. Or the way my son said, "You look beautiful." If you'd told me 10 years ago that my biggest shame wouldn't be cheating on my husband with another man, but almost letting my own son touch me in a way no son ever should, I would have called you insane. But now I live with the memory of a night I can never take back. A night where silence screamed, the air pulsed with tension, and the boy I gave birth to looked at me not like a mother, but like a woman he wanted. And I didn't walk away fast enough. I've never told anyone this, not my best friend, not my therapist, not even God, not really. Because this isn't the kind of story you pray about. It's the kind you bury, deep, where even your own reflection can't find it. My name is Rachel. I'm 44 years old. I've been married to my husband, Dan, for 21 years. We have 2 children, Sophie, our daughter, who moved out last year, and Aaron, our youngest, our quiet one. Aaron was always different, calm, observant, thoughtful. Where Sophie was loud and chaotic, Aaron was steady, watching the world like he was trying to solve it. He was beautiful. I know mothers say that, but he really was. Dark curls, long eyelashes, that soft, slow way of speaking, like he knew his words carried weight. When he turned 18, he changed. Not in a bad way, not drugs or rebellion. He just grew into himself. His body filled out. His voice deepened. He started going to the gym with Dan, and I remember the first time I saw him walk shirtless through the hallway, I froze. Not because I felt desire, not yet, but because, for one horrifying second, I didn't recognize him. He wasn't my little boy anymore. That's when the boundaries started to blur. It was in the little things. He began complimenting me more, hugging me more. Sometimes at night, when Dan was already asleep, Aaron would stay up watching movies with me. We'd laugh, share wine. He'd ask questions no son ever asked. Did you ever think about leaving Dad? Do you ever wish you'd married someone else? Do you think I'll ever find someone like you? The first time he said that last one, I laughed awkwardly. That's sweet, honey, but a little creepy. He smiled. But there was something behind his eyes. Something deeper. Weeks passed. Dan left for a 5-day business retreat. Sophie was in Spain visiting friends. The house was just me and Aaron. The first 3 nights were quiet, almost too quiet. I cooked. He helped clean. We watched old movies. He kept finding excuses to sit closer, to touch my hand. I told myself he was just affectionate. But on the 4th night, I couldn't lie anymore. I was in my bedroom, wearing a soft sleep shirt. Not revealing, not tight, but comfortable. I was moisturizing my legs when he knocked on the door. "Come in," I said instinctively. He entered and stood silently in the doorway. He didn't look away, didn't even flinch when he saw my bare thighs. I pulled my shirt down a bit. "Everything okay?" He nodded slowly. Then he said it. Just like that. "Do you ever feel lonely?" I blinked. What? With Dad gone all the time, with Sophie out of the house, with me leaving soon too. Do you ever feel like no one really sees you anymore? My throat tightened. I didn't answer. He stepped forward just once. I see you, he said. His hand touched my arm. Light. Just fingertips. I stared at his skin on mine. You're so beautiful, he whispered. I think about you all the time. I should have screamed. I should have run. I should have thrown something at him and told him never to speak to me like that again. But I didn't. I just sat there, frozen. My heart was pounding. My mind was a storm of wrong, wrong, wrong. And yet my body was quiet, warm, responsive, because someone, anyone, was finally looking at me like a woman again, like I was seen, wanted. He leaned down, close. Too close. Our noses almost touched. And then I snapped. I stood up so fast I knocked the lotion bottle to the floor. Get out, I said, my voice cracking. His face, confused, crushed. Mom! Get out! He left. He didn't slam the door. He didn't yell. He just left like someone who realized he'd set fire to something that can never be unburned. I didn't sleep that night. I couldn't. I stared at the ceiling, wondering if I was still a good person, wondering how close I had come to doing something that would destroy us both. Dan came home the next day. Everything looked normal, but nothing was. Aaron barely spoke to me for months after that. When he did, his words were flat, emotionless, like he was trying to forget something he couldn't unremember. I thought about telling Dan. I came close once, but I saw the way he smiled at Aaron that night over dinner, and I knew it would shatter him. It would shatter us all. So I buried it. Every now and then, I wake up in a sweat, remembering the way Aaron looked at me that night. Not with lust, not exactly, but with longing. And what terrifies me most is that some part of me longed back. This is the kind of story I'll take to the grave. Not because I'm proud of it, but because saying it aloud means admitting what I almost became. My son grew up. I blinked, and he was no longer a boy. And then one night, in the quiet safety of our home, he crossed a line I never imagined possible. And the worst part? For one long second, I let him. They always say, it's just a phase. But some moments never pass. My name is Claire. I'm 45. I've been married to my husband Matt since I was 22. And for most of that time, I thought I understood who I was. A wife. A mother. A woman who did what she was supposed to. I had 2 kids, Emma and Julian. Emma was the loud one, the bold one. She moved out at 19 and never looked back. Julian was different. He was quiet. He lived inside his mind. Books, music, late-night talks. He was gentle with people and brutal with himself. A boy who noticed details, like when I changed my lipstick or when my eyes were red from crying. He saw what Matt never saw. After he turned 19, things shifted. I don't know when it started. Maybe it was the way he began to watch me, not as a son, but as something else, something I didn't want to name. He started working out, grew taller, stronger. He'd walk around shirtless, sweat glistening on his chest like he didn't even realize I was there. Or maybe he did. One night, I was in the laundry room, folding towels, and he came up behind me. Quiet, barefoot, always so quiet. You smell good, he said. I turned around, startled. He was so close. Don't say things like that, I said. My voice was sharp, too sharp. I was trying to shut it down before it started. He smiled, just a little. Why not? You do. I brushed past him, heart thudding. That night, I told myself it was nothing. Just a teenager pushing boundaries. Hormones. He'd get over it. But he didn't. Weeks passed. Matt was gone most evenings. His new job kept him busy, and he'd started drinking again. I felt invisible. Undesirable. Julian noticed, and that's what scared me most. He started making me tea at night, sitting with me, asking deep questions. Did you marry Dad because you loved him or because it felt safe? Do you ever wonder what it's like to feel wanted again? I'd brush it off, change the subject, but something in me, some weak, starving part, wanted to keep listening because no one had looked at me like that in years. Then came the night. It was late, well after midnight. Rain poured outside. Thunder rolled through the house. I was curled up on the couch under a blanket, watching an old romantic film, wine glass half full, eyes heavy. Julian walked in quietly and sat beside me. He didn't ask, just sat. Close. Too close. He was wearing gray sweatpants and nothing else. His skin was warm from a shower. You always watch these movies when it rains, he said. I nodded, suddenly unable to speak. You're beautiful when you cry, he added, his voice barely above a whisper. I turned to face him. Julian, please, don't. Why? He asked. Because it's wrong? Or because it feels real? He leaned in, close enough for me to feel his breath on my lips. I could have stopped it. Should have. But I didn't. Not right away. For one long, dangerous second, I let my eyes close. Just to feel it. Just to pretend I was someone else. Someone younger. Desired. Alive. His hand reached up, brushing the side of my neck. That's when I snapped out of it. I pushed him away, hard. Go to bed, I said. His face crumbled. Not angry, not furious. Just broken. I'm sorry, he whispered. I didn't mean to. Just go. He left. I sat there for hours, shaking. Not because he kissed me, because I wanted him to. Because that second between his breath and mine was the first time I'd felt anything in years. We never spoke of it again. Julian moved out 6 months later. He said it was time. Said he needed space. I think he left because he was ashamed. I think I let him. Matt never found out. He still brings me tea on weekends and talks about retirement like everything is fine. But I know I'm not who I thought I was. I didn't cross the line, but I leaned over it, looked down, and for one terrifying moment, wanted to fall.